Geekiverse show. My name is Josiah Leroy. I'm very excited to finally be here. If you don't know about the Geekiverse, we started writing as a blog last summer, so 2014. We love everything geek, whether that's video games, comics, movies, you name it, anything related to that. We talk about it, we're passionate about it, we're very excited to be here podcasting for the very first time here at the end of November. That being said, I'm going to introduce my panelists and my co-writers and teammates here. Jeff Pavlak, Lauren Leroy, aka Little Miss Funeral, Austin Brunner,
Whatever you want to say, man.
we just had a conversation about that, and my longtime friend and former teacher, Peter. That being said, we plan on doing this for a long time, whether we're talking about comic books, doing funny parody videos. Of course, it's only subjective if it's funny or not. But I wanted to go down the line and say kind of what got us into being a geek, what got us into geekdom, if you will. Starting off with right off the bat, I was 6 years old. My dad took me to see Star Wars when it was in theaters again. So they brought back the special 1997 editions of A New Hope, Empire, and Jedi, and that was it for me. That was a slippery slope, and I was gone. I'm a huge video gamer. Anything I just mentioned, comic books, you name it. I just love it. I could talk about it all day long, and that's why I plan on doing it. Jeff, is there a specific moment you knew that this is something you wanted to be a part of?
Yeah, it's a long time ago.
In a galaxy far, far away.
Something like that. Probably had to be when I was about 3.5 years old. Parents took me into Toys R Us one Saturday night, and I spotted the VHS for Godzilla vs. King Kong.
That explains a lot.
The 1962 classic. It was King Kong on the cover beating his chest was cool and all, but the thing that grabbed me was Godzilla standing there shooting his atomic fire. I went home and watched it that night with my parents, and it was love at first sight.
Jeff is a huge Godzilla fan.
Huge Godzilla fan.
Easily the biggest on the Geekiverse staff, I would say.
I would say so.
That's a good story. Lauren, is there a moment,
Yeah.
that, or maybe an individual in your life that influenced you?
When you date a geek, you become a geek. So when you marry a geek, you become an even bigger geek.
The site tagline is "Welcome to the Geekiverse," but that might be it now. So I don't know.
Then we would all have to date geeks.
And I am absolutely not married to a geek. And being married to her for 28 years hasn't turned her into a geek. When I turn the channel, she goes to bed.
That's very surprising.
Yeah,
Like, that's
Pete is one of the
well,
biggest geeks I know.
We're different generational geeks. Me and you guys, different generational stuff.
We're bridging the gap here today.
But the first time that she and I ever went on a date, I took her to see Star Trek with the whales.
How about that? Okay. See,
We remember that.
love it for sight.
She's still married.
She still married me. That was our first date.
If you don't know, by the way, Adam, Pete's son, is our camera guy. So, we can maybe thank Star Trek for that. Austin Brunner. Is there a moment that you knew? Austin's a big wrestling fan, folks. Maybe it was that. Maybe it was something else. Anything that triggered that for you?
Yeah, actually, well, the wrestling thing, that was me and my cousin actually just got into it. So we would practice wrestling moves on each other. Don't try this at home. We didn't follow that rule. But yeah, we would watch wrestling all the time. We'd make our own little rosters and pay-per-views and stuff like that. So from the wrestling aspect, it was my cousin. But as far as like geekdom, it was video games. Right off the bat, it was the Super Nintendo. My aunt actually had an Atari, so she's like, forget that Super Nintendo. Let's play Frogger on the Atari. Like, this is
Controversy already.
right. This is old as dirt, Aunt. Stop doing that to me. And then Zelda. I can't remember the name of the game now. It's gonna drive me nuts. This whole show.
It'll hit us
The
next
very
time.
first Legend of Zelda
Super
game?
Nintendo, Zelda
A
something.
Link to the Past.
Thank you. Yes, Link to the Past.
If there's two things you can count on Jeff for, it's Godzilla references
I knew
and
someone-
every Nintendo game ever.
There you go. I knew someone would get it for me, but that game
And
ruined
Zelda, so it's got to have a Z in it for
Right.
Pop
Pretty
to be
much.
all over.
There
Ends
you
with an
go.
A, Z in there. It's in my.
I never
it's
even
my
put that
repertoire.
together. Wow.
I think we're reaching on that one a little bit. To be honest.
So back to you, Pete. Any moment that I don't. You
Well,
mentioned Star Trek.
My moments are so far away. Sometimes they're fuzzy to remember, since like my transition to geek happened decades before you were all born. I lived through Star Trek in its second run. Its first run was slightly before I was born. The Star Wars, I was already in my teens by the time Star Wars came out in 1970.
1977.
I was going to say 76. So we didn't have the stimulus when I was growing up that you guys have. There was no MTV. There was no any of these kind of. Is there still MTV? I don't know.
It's debatable.
It missed us, I think. Yeah.
So I had comic books. That was what I had. So I was even in the 70s. I was a huge Fantastic Four fan and Spider-Man fan. So that was the thing that I think put me on the path where I am today.
Gotta love it. I think it definitely has changed nowadays. And Jeff, you wrote a Fantastic Four movie review for us, so I think that's telling, which is cool nowadays. That's where we're at. Jeff, I'm kind of losing my train of thought here as we're going on, but we talked about it a few weeks ago actually, and he wrote an article on the website where if you want to be a cool kid, you have to go to Comic-Con. And that's drastically different, obviously, even just in our time with growing up, where it was closet kind of cool to look at stuff
Very
in Star Wars.
taboo, yeah.
Yeah.
But now it's like expected, which is kind of crazy. So maybe we're starting this at the right time. But whether it's Star Wars or everyone's got their favorite with Marvel, video games, it doesn't matter. It's all cool. And TV, I mean, you've got DC and Marvel all over it with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. You've got Gotham on TV, Arrow, Flash, it goes on and on. Supergirl, it's really changed. I think you guys probably agree, at least our time it has as well.
Absolutely.
Certainly.
No, I think that's because of the special effects have changed. It was very difficult to do decent superhero kind of stuff when the special effects weren't keeping up. It looked stupid, and it doesn't look stupid anymore. It looks excellent. Cinematically,
That's a great point.
I mean, Gotham cinematically is, whether you like the show or hate the show, cinematically it's beautiful.
I agree. The art style on that show is crazy. It mixes modern with vintage, if you will. I don't know if that's the right term for it, but in the way it's shot and in the scenes between, or basically transitions to where it'll show the city. Oh my gosh.
It's spectacular. It's absolutely spectacular.
Absolutely gorgeous.
You're getting theater experiences in the living room now.
You are. And that's a good point too. High definition TVs are the norm now.
Yeah.
It's not, the high def TVs even 5-10 years ago were extra. They were treats, if you will. And now, they're very affordable. Most people have them.
Well, especially with Black Friday, I'm sure a lot of those TVs were like $150. So.
That's true. So maybe you got a good Black Friday deal.
If you didn't come out like pummeled after
If you didn't, if you left without a black eye, you were in good
right,
shape.
that's what black and Black Friday is black eye.
Black Eye Day, I think is what it should be called. Going back to that, is there a favorite, now that for today's podcast, we all brought our own chair. We had to bring our own chair to film this. We just got our studio in the last 2 weeks here. We've been hard at work and getting this ready for everybody. So we each literally brought our own chair from our humble abodes at home. Is there a game or movie that really stands out in your mind that's your go-to, that gets you excited about writing, talking about anything Geekiverse?
Oh yeah, dude. Legend of Zelda, you know that. But the one in particular for me that's really, really close to my heart is Ocarina of Time for N64. When I played that when I was 9 years old, I believe it was about a year after it came out, so 1999. I was just so fascinated with that world, the characters, the adventure. I wanted to do my own kind of stories like that then, and that's what got the ball rolling for me to become an author.
Jeff is an author. He's written. Have you finished your second book?
I did, working through the third now.
Okay. Why don't you give a really quick synopsis on that?
Oh, sure.
Jeff, yeah, it's incredible.
They're amazing.
Lauren proofread for
Amazing.
Pete as well.
Yeah, I'm still proofreading number 2
Yes.
right now.
What's the use?
A fantasy. Fantasy epic, right there.
Young adult fantasy.
A small
epic.
plug here for Jeff, but
Thank you.
No,
really-
plug away. This is awesome. This
so
is shocking
good.
to me. Go for it.
I do encourage you. His books are available on Amazon, but take
First
it away.
one is I'm
Okay.
hoping to put all 3 books together next year into one volume and get that published as one big, big epic book. Quick synopsis, young adult, high fantasy. I wouldn't say it's like Lord of the Rings because there's no, army on army battles, but a lot of small adventuring here and there. Very much, I mean, honestly, inspired by The Legend of Zelda, those video games. Young hero, young heroine, a lot of magic involved, a lot of, growing up, growing pains for the young heroes, everything like that. I've always, me, I mean, I'm such a big geek, big nerd. I love castles, I love dragons, love
We've
magic.
never noticed that, like, you hide that pretty well.
He does hide it well.
Sorry, what's the name of the book? Because now I need to go to Amazon.
Well,
Yes.
the name of the first book is called Echoes of Light.
Okay.
When I put all 3 books together, I'm going to be calling it The Luminous Legend.
The Luminous Legend.
Amazing.
That's
Sprung that on me kind of randomly.
it's
but I
badass.
love
I
it.
think you can say that. That's exciting. I mean, to have your own book like that, have it published, it's in print form. It's not just digital. It's sick.
It's been fun. It's been a fun ride, but
Do what
there's
you
a lot
wanna
more
do,
to do. A lot more to do.
A lot more to do. It's just the beginning.
I know, I'm
Exactly.
waiting for number 3 for years.
Give me a couple
She
more
does
months.
love those books.
Give me a couple more months.
So, Lauren,
Yes. Any video
particular
games?
game, show? I know you and your cousin played
Okay,
N64 a lot when you were little.
N64 Diddy Kong Racing 100%.
Diddy Kong.
My cousin and I
She
would
beats me every
spend
time. It's embarrassing.
hours and hours and hours playing Diddy Kong Racing.
Mario Kart's better.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No.
Yes, it is.
First controversy. Here we go.
Mario
No,
Kart.
I love
gosh.
Diddy Kong. I love Diddy Kong. Actually, we still have our N64, and Josiah was mad because we actually brought it out one day, and like the graphics were not
It's
up
hard to look
par.
at. Speaking of high definition.
But it's one of those things that's like it's always fun, and it's always fun to go back to what you played when you were a kid. So
Yeah, absolutely.
this is gonna be really weird too, but Harvest Moon. I love Harvest Moon. Harvest Moon for N64, and I even play Harvest Moon on my
Nintendo DS.
3DS?
Yes, 3D. I have a 3DS and a
Okay.
regular DS, but and I think I have it for both of them. It's been a while since I touched my handhelds, but that's
Same here. My Vita's been by itself for a while.
But Harvest Moon is always, a childhood favorite into adult favorite.
I mean, those are long-running classics, so those obviously aren't bad choices. Those will always be around, I think. Austin, anything particular for you?
Yeah, for video game wise, Pokemon.
All right.
I don't know why, but for whatever reason, when I was a kid, that was the thing. I had the cards, I had the Game Boy system, and then I got it for, I believe it was N64, Pokemon Snap. Take photos of all your Pokemon on these little trips and stuff. It was a very stupid game, but for whatever reason, I played it. But yeah, Pokemon was always there. Crash Bandicoot, Spyro,
Yes.
stuff like that.
Crash
So-
Bandicoot,
and
Crash
then-
Racing, yes.
Yes. And then eventually evolved more into sports games, Madden, NHL, stuff like that, wrestling, obviously. So it's just kind of been the whole realm of video games. And then I read your stuff, which, small plug for us, but whatever, it's cool. I read your stuff about Fallout and Star Wars, and I'm not a big Star Wars geek at all. I'll, disclose that right away. But then I read your stuff, and I'm like, I want to play Star Wars. I gotta play it. So
It's contagious.
yes,
it really
it's very
is.
contagious. So the whole realm of video games, I'm down for anything, pretty much.
It seems like I'm the only one who didn't have I can't reference a Nintendo game as being as my favorite growing up, so you guys are probably going to turn on me pretty fast. Pete, anything for
I certainly can't reference it.
I was you were my last hope.
game of being pivotal in my youth.
Thank goodness.
I
okay.
mean, from a game point, it was probably either Space Invaders or Asteroids were the pivotal games
Beautiful.
of my life. I think probably it's one of two things from a media standpoint that pushed me in that direction. It was either Star Trek, the original series. I absolutely, in 1975 or so, 2000 seemed so far away.
Mhm.
And I was convinced at that point in time that I was going to have the opportunity to pilot a starship by that point in time. We're running a little behind schedule, or it was Star Wars.
All right.
That was when that first came out. The story of my life is that all these cool things that happened when I was younger, like Star Wars, those special effects were cutting edge. The shark in Jaws, which now looks like a rubber duck, at the time was horrifying. Those special effects at the time were cutting edge, and just what we can do now is it's unbelievable to me. And it's nice that I lived through the whole transition. You
The
guys are
evolution
talking
of it,
about-
if you will.
You guys are talking about games that I've never even heard of. Pokemon, I remember, like my kids had Pokemon cards, not me.
It's all it takes is, speaking of Jaws, 2 notes. Da, 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 here to go.
And everybody knows those 2 notes.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Still.
So those are all good points. Obviously Star Wars for me, if you know anything about me, that is definitely what's driven my passion. It got me into gaming, comic books now. Jeff and I took a trip to the comic book store in February, and I've spent a lot of money on that since. But overall, this is a lot of fun. I think we're going to have a blast with this, and everything's been contagious. And we do have a bunch of staff members and writers that are not here. It'd be tough to fit everybody, so we would have had to rotate out anyway. But Sam, Andrew, Sean, Chris Austin, Gene, I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. I'm sure I'll give a shout out later on, but you'll see them making appearances as well. But as far as that goes, I look forward to doing this for a long time with you guys.